All right, guys. Hello, hello. We're going to get started. Wish you guys a happy Friday. Hopefully, you guys are doing great, having a great week. My name is Dr. Greg, and it's so great to be with you here for our Forex Q&A, our coffee hour with Greg. And I have my matcha here, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a great show available to you today. We're going to be talking about the recap of the week's trading activity. We're going to also look at what's to look for next week as far as the economic announcements that they're coming out that could really move the market. And we'll also look at what's going on with gold. Gold all-time highs and seeing where it could go. But we also had a crypto crash as well on the back of some of the bad loans, Wall Street loans, which have got the market spooked, and also tariffs, and then day 14 of the shutdown, the government shutdown, and so that's also impacting the market and changing the sentiment. So we're gonna get started, okay? So fantastic. So if you are on the school community, I invite you to come to our school community and check us out. It's the school.com/elitetradersuniversity.com. And make sure that you are, I see Sean is in the room, in the house. Whoop, Sean, King Blueberry's in the house. How you doing? Hope you got your beverage ready to go. And remember, you can join through the link there as well for the coffee hour. And we're going to be looking at some different things here. So gold this week has been very, very good to me. I've been trading gold all week. In fact, that's the only thing that we've been trading is gold. So we were able to had a challenge recently as a $100 to $1,000 challenge, which doesn't sound like a whole lot of money, but being able to take $100 to taking a very small amount of money, and most people, the biggest complaint that traders have is they say that they're undercapitalized. They don't have enough money. They need a bigger account, and they need more money. That's the reason why they lose. And that's so far from the truth, because if you cannot grow a small amount of money, you cannot possibly grow a large amount of money, right? Even the Bible says that, if you're faithful with little, you'll be given much, right? And what happens is people say, oh, I got $100 account, they over leverage, and then they blow up. And then they say, if I only had $1,000, if I only had 10,000 or 5,000 or, $50,000. But what happens is you build habits, you build structures, you build strategies, you build those things in your early days of trading. So whatever you did trading a small account, you're just going to do it on a larger level. Okay. So if you're trading a $500 account pretty recklessly, you don't have a system, you don't have a strategy, you're basically gambling, and you're looking at the market and looking at, a big bullish engulfing candle, you jump in, and that's your reason for trading, then you are a gambler. You don't have a methodology. Because if you had a formula, if you had a methodology, I still got some green on my hand from the matcha, but if you have a repetitive, a system, a method, a recipe for actually engaging in the market, to engage and to encounter the market, each time, if you use that same methodology, it should produce similar results. Okay. And doing that in back testing is the first way of being able to do it. If you can replicate it on historical data, that's step one. Now, there's all kinds of people. There's people that have different arguments or complaints about back testing that's not real. There's slippage. The execution is different. The mindset is different. But if you follow the steps, it should repeat itself. And even though you even see Wall Street verbiage that say past performance is not indicative of future results. But I tell you what, we use past results in everything we do in this society, right? Whether it's if you're a doctor, they do not allow you to practice medicine or actually to work on a live person, to do surgery, unless you work on an animal first, like a frog or a dog or a cat, and then maybe to a dead body called a cadaver. They give it a fancy name. Doctors work on cadavers. They work on dead people first. You can't kill a dead person. If you mess up, they're dead, right? So doctors practice on dead people before they get to do surgery on live people. This is practice. So if past performance is not indicative of future results, why do we put so much trust in our medical system, which says, hey, because you operate in this dead body, then you can operate on a live person, right? Similar to maybe someone who flies an airplane, right? If you work for American Airlines and United Airlines, in fact, I'm taking a trip. I'm all dressed up and ready to go, flying out tomorrow. I'm trusting my life to a pilot, at United Airlines, right? And I'm not trusting some guy that took a weekend course on flying an airplane on a Saturday, right? And now he wants to fly a multi-million-dollar aircraft and he wants to fly me. No way, Jose. I'm not getting on that plane with him because I want to be on a plane piloted by someone who has past performance data that proves that he's a competent pilot. And he has to go through hours and hours of flying time before he can get behind the airplane, right? Before he gets behind the wheel. In fact, I was on JSX, I was flying, and the guy had, he had 2,000 hours, right? 2,000 hours, that's a lot of time, so 24 hours in a day, you're like, that's a long time, right? But I feel more confident for someone who's worked 2,000 hours. Now, past performance is not indicative of future results. Hopefully that he doesn't crash the plane after 2,000 hours, but I'm sure those first 15, 20, 30 hours of him practicing, he probably crashed, right? He got the crash out of his system, right? And then he developed habits doing the same thing over and over and over again. It's boring. But if you like working out, if you like going to the gym, you've got to work out. You have to practice and build a skill. So now you come to your trading account and you say, hey, I'm just going to roll the dice, press the buy button or press the sell button and hope for the best. And hope is not a strategy, guys. I tell you what, the Forex gods do not exist and they're not going to answer your prayers, right? There's only one God, great God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? And he's not going to answer your prayer either because, look, you know what you're supposed to do. That's why you're listening to me, right? Because I have trained thousands of people in trading currencies and trading the financial markets. And the way we do it and the way we've had so much success is practice makes permanent. Practice doesn't make perfect. I had I was an orchestra. I was a nerd. I played the violin. But I had a very influential teacher by the name of John Stankiewicz. And if you're listening, John, if you're still alive, God bless you. I learned so much from you. He introduced us to Apple computers back in 1977, which is like really cool. And he connected his Apple II to his keyboard and made music. And so he was got the Apple thing going really early, but he always told us, he says, you always heard practice makes perfect, but that's not correct. It's perfect practice makes permanent. If you practice perfectly, then you'll make perfect habits, which you can reproduce over and over again. But if you practice wrong, right? Yeah, you did it for hours and hours, but if you did it wrong for hours and hours, and then what you have done is you have made those bad habits permanent. You've engraved them You have etched them into your subconscious. You've etched the stuff, right? So you think, hey, I can figure this out on my own. I don't need mentorship. I don't need any guidance. I'm just going to trial and error. And you're trying and error and you're doing the same thing over and over again, right? And, people said you got to think outside the box. But I tell you what, you are the box. You are the box, right? You can't even get out of the box because you are the box. And Einstein, who's a very smart guy, said that the mind that created the problem cannot solve the problem, right? If you're in the bottle, you cannot get out of the bottle. You need someone outside of the box to get you out and to get you to think and see things in a new light, right? No, it's like giving yourself a math book and saying, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Yeah, probably in 10 years, you'll probably figure it out. But if you had someone to guide you and to direct you who has the results that you want to achieve, and that person has the ability to convey and give you what they have and give it to you. Because there are a lot of guys out there who are great traders, phenomenal traders, right? They make millions of dollars, but they could not teach a dog to pee. Why? They don't have the patience. They don't have the ability, the ability to put themselves at a level to convey information to someone who's brand new, who doesn't understand anything, right? And that, I mean, teaching is not just something you just do. People think you got all these coaches online, but I tell you what, I went to school and I was trained at Los Angeles Unified School District. I was a district intern, graduate from UCLA, and I was taught how to teach people. I was taught pedagogy and different learning modalities. I learned how to convey information. And that's why my students, even when I taught middle school and high school, won many awards and have gone on to, I was teaching back in the 80s, but, my kids won the academic pentathlon in Los Angeles Unified School District. Pentathlon was an event, an education event where we competed with other schools in areas of English, writing, mathematics, and science. I don't think they even have that anymore. I don't think the kids are smart enough to even have that anymore. But that's another story about the state of our education system. But we won because I am a fierce competitor and my kids win, right? And I taught in middle school in the Lily White, Woodland Hills suburbs. They won awards. I taught in the inner city, in the gang-infested inner city, and those kids won awards too, right? And what was the common denominator? Me, right? It was my belief that they could succeed, and I had a method for conveying information to make them and empower them to be their best, okay? Which is a lot different. So I have a track record that goes back to 1989. Of teaching from middle school, high school, adult school, college. I taught at UCLA, and I've taught in fact, when I became a trader, when I left education and I was in the Wall Street office, as a big broker, they called me. I was doing sales. I was also doing, I was a trade currency analyst, and they go, Greg, you need to teach people. It's like, no, I don't want to teach anymore. It's like, no. We need you to educate our client base so they can trade more frequent, trade better, and create more money. So you're going to teach. And I said, I don't want to do that. And they go, well, you're going to be fired. And I go, oh, I really like teaching. So I went back to teaching. So I was teaching at the brokerage. I was a currency analyst and an instructor. I wore two hats. And so many of you, maybe even from the years past, remember me working at that brokerage and doing live webinars like I'm doing now, teaching people, right? Why? Because I was good at it. Because when my traders went through my process, my step process, they were able to basically duplicate what I was doing and replicate my success. And so that's So that's very, very important. Why? Because not only did I know how to teach, but I had something to teach, right? Having a recipe is very important. Many of you have ingredients. You have ingredients. Just like someone who's baking a cake, you have salt and you have sugar and you have cinnamon and you have vanilla extract and you have flour and you have bacon. You have all the ingredients. But if you put all those ingredients on the table, you don't have a recipe, you're going to have a big mess if you mix all that stuff together in the wrong proportions and bake it at the wrong temperature. You're going to have a pile of crap that no one wants to eat, right? And maybe that's the state of your trading right now. Maybe you have all these. You say, I know how to trade. I'm a trader. I know stochastics. I know trend lines. I know supply and demand. Yeah, you know a bunch of stuff. You know a bunch of information. You know what a pip is. You know what a candlestick is. Whoop-de-doo for your Subaru, okay? Ain't going to, that's, the market's going to look at you and go, show me what you got. And you show them, and then it takes your money. And then you come at it again, show me what you got. And then the market takes your money, right? It's going to keep taking your money. And you're thinking you're going to learn a lesson, but it's just going to keep taking your money. Why? Because you come to the market unprepared. The market wants to see that you have a plan, have an edge, and you have discipline. And if you don't have those three things, then it's going to take your money, right? Because losers pay winners in the market, okay? You understand this. It's not kumbaya thing. Let's all work together and make money. No, it's a pyramid, right? The top of the pyramid, 10% of all traders make all the money, and the other 80% pay the losers at the bottom of the pyramid, pay the people at the top, right? So what's the difference between the people at the top and the people at the bottom? Well, the people at the top, both of them, you both lose, right? But the people at the top lose small and don't lose very frequently, while the people at the bottom of the pyramid lose often and their losses are greater than their wins. So maybe you have a series of wins, but your losses are so big, they eat up your wins. That is a sign that you don't have a recipe, right? If your cake comes out burnt, if your cake comes out like a rock, if your cake has no flavor, then you have a bad recipe, or you can't follow a recipe. But if you keep doing the same thing and you keep getting jacked up results, yes, you got a messed up recipe, right? What can I say, right? And I have a recipe, and I can show it to you. I'm going to actually show you what we did in my 3-day challenge. How I took $100 and turned it into over $1,000 in just 3 days, and I'm going to show you that in just a couple of minutes. But the point is that you gotta look at yourself in the mirror, right? And you gotta be honest with yourself, because sometimes you're in Egypt, you're in denial. A river called denial, the Nile River. You're in denial. I'm fine. I'm a trader. I know this. I know that. You have ingredients. You are an ingredient collector. In fact, when you're probably scrolling through something now, this thing is going to show me a shiny arrow and a buy sell signal, a new indicator. Now you're getting more ingredients, right? Right? You're getting mustard and ketchup and mayonnaise and all kinds of stuff. You're trying to bake a cake, and you're gathering a bunch of ingredients that really shouldn't be in the cake. And really, the cake is a very simple process. I tell my students, if you can count, potential students, and I give them a question. I go, can you count to 5? And they go, well, yeah. Well, do you know your ABCs up to the letter C? And they go, yeah. Well, then you can master my system, right? It's not that simple. It's not that hard. I'm a simple guy. I'm an English teacher, not math, even though there's math involved in what I do. But I tell you, if a kid from South Central LA who grew up on the mean streets, blue versus red, but I chose green, can learn this system and then teach thousands of people how to do it. And I created many multimillionaires, including myself. And of course, I can teach you. But if you would like more information about that, you can go and reach out to me. But let me just go show you a challenge account, because I can show you Yeah, 50 million here, 5 million there, blah, 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 blah. And your brain's gonna go, oh, he has millions of dollars. That's why he can trade. No, I do challenge accounts every week to show you if you start with $100 and if you have the recipe, right? If I have flour, I have sugar, I have baking powder, I have chocolate chips, I have cocoa powder, I can make a chocolate cake, right? I can make a tiny chocolate cake. Increase the size of the ingredients, the amount of I can make a big chocolate cake. I can make a sheet cake. I can make a cupcake, right? I can make a what they go the easy bake oven cake, right? I can make a muffin. I can make a cookie, right? All and once I have the recipe, I can scale, right? But if you don't have a recipe, you don't have anything, and you're just wasting your time. You might as well open up a CD account at the local bank and take up knitting, right? And if you want the pain of trading, if you want the excitement, just take a baseball bat and like hit yourself right across the shin, and then donate the money to charity, because that's all you're basically doing. You're guys like me and my gang, we're going to take the other side of your trade. So you're going to pay us anyway, right? So you can either invest in your education and invest in yourself, or you can continue to fund my lifestyle, right? But let me go ahead and show you in a positive note here, right? And so let's go ahead and get to it. All right. So this is a live account, okay? And that's another the second part of this thing I want to talk to you about. That I've got withdrawal symptoms, right? And I'm trying to get everyone around me in my class to have withdrawal symptoms, right? Enough of this digital money on a statement. Take the money off the table. We're going to talk about that, but let me go ahead and share my screen and share with you what I did in the 3-day challenge, right? And a lot of people say, well, I need more money. You don't need no money. You don't need more money. You need a system. You need a recipe, and you need help, right? So here it is, okay? And I trade with Ox Securities. If you want to know more about how to do that, how to actually get an account with them, you can go ahead and message me at that. I'll show you how to go about getting in touch with them. Okay, so let me show you. So this is October 15th. The date here right now is October 17th, 2025. So it's actually 2 days ago. So I actually did in 2 days, not 3 days. October 15th, 2025, I put in $123.05. Okay. I have much more money than that, right? But I just, look, people, I need thousands of dollars. And then you go into debt. Then you're taking out seconds on your house. Borrowing money to trade is that's a stupid idea. Okay. That's like, oh, we're take a gun, put it in your head, and just, it's, you got to pay back the loan and all this other stuff, right? Borrowing from friends, trading other people's money. Hey, I got the, no, you don't. Not until you can take $100 and move it. Okay. Anyway, so stop preaching. XAU USD, I just found the uptrend, 4180. We're at like 4,300, right? I just follow the trend, right? And I don't stay in these trades very long, 412, 12, 412, 56, right? What's that? 44 seconds. So I made $32.44. Okay, just stop right there. Just stop it right there, right? That's already telling you I gotta have a good start, right? Again, I started at 412, 12 seconds, got out at 412.56. Okay. That's a good sign. All right. So basically what I made almost 30% on one trade, right? And I'm using 0.1 lot, which is equivalent to 100 ounces of gold. 100 ounces of gold is $10 a pip. So basically it was 41.80.44 to 48.83.66. It was like actually, yeah, $3.22, right? 3.22, $10 a pip, right? No commissions on with them with these guys, right? So, and then also again, I'm looking at the time, 12 seconds, 30. That's I mean seconds there, right? 42 seconds. 42 seconds to make $32, right? So so the next trade, 43.90, maybe took a little longer, I think. It took 4 minutes to make that. Yeah, 4 minutes and 4 seconds to make $43.90, right? And then it keeps going on like that. And if you notice, there's something that's very remarkable, right? That there are any losses, right? This is mechanical. So I'm going to use AI. I use AI too. I use AI. I always use AI. You know what AI stands for? Actual intelligence, right? Remember artificial butter is called margarine and artificial leather is called vinyl, right? And you got artificial fake fur, you got faux fur, right? Artificial is always like bad, and all of a sudden now artificial is good. I use actual intelligence, AI, which is real intelligence. My brain, my finger, and my mouse, and my system, and I follow my rules, right? So here you go. So again, I'm taking lots of trades, getting in and out very quickly. $28 here, $8.50. They're not these $100, $200 trades because it's called pip and run. That's my whole, that is what we do. We pip and run. We're in and out. See my logo? It's a black guy with a bag of money running. That's my logo. That's what I do. I've been doing that for for a long time, right? Pip and run. So I get in and get out because when you run out in the middle of the road to grab money, if you stay out on the road too long, you're going to end up as roadkill, right? You're going to get run over, right? So sometimes when I got out of these trades, they immediately corrected, right? And then when they corrected, I got back in and I just inhaled and exhaled. There's a rhythm. In fact, another name for scalping is called rhythm trading, following the rhythm of the market. And once you get into the rhythm of the market, so here's a loss. And I was trying to probably get out at break even or above, and I got it for minus 40 cents. Minus 40 cents. How many of you guys would love to lose just 40 cents after a succession of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 23 trades. And after 23 winning trades, you lose 40 cents, right? And we just continued with the same position size, right? Sometimes maybe spraying if I got a certain level that we're looking for. There's levels we're looking for. There's patterns that we're looking for. All part of the recipe. That secret recipe. In fact, if you were to work with me, I would make you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, non-compete agreement, that you will not be able to share this information with anyone. So that's why you're not going to find anything or on even ChatGPT. I've conveniently sewed a bunch of false information about the system in there because they even asked me, gee, Greg, how does the pip and run system work? And I go, I am not telling you. But ChatGPT does know that the system works really well because I upload my statement. And I say, look, tell me about my statement. And he goes, I've never seen anything like this. You have this phenomenal edge. And I'll actually read you what ChatGPT actually says about it. Right. But here we go. So we continue with small base hits. Okay. We're not hitting home runs. We're not swinging for the fences. Right. We're just going for small base hits. I don't buy and hold. I don't buy and mold. Right. Getting in and out and in and out. And finally, I had a loss here. I tried to sell, try to go counter trend, and I don't like going counter trend, and I'm not very good at that yet, right? But I have my students. Jeff is a phenomenal counter trend trader. He is so amazing. He just makes me very proud. And he's retired. He lives in the Dominican Republic, and he just lives the life, the buena vida, so to speak. Right? He got to retire early. Yes. Right. So so this is my student. My student sent me his his live account, and you can see that his results. He trades by he's look counter trend. He's selling. I was buying, but look, these are his results, and he has there's one loss for $13.75. So it's 52.90, 31.70, 31.57, but mostly he got a couple of losses here, but mostly wins and very big ones at that, right? Um, yeah, he stays a little bit longer and gets a little bit bigger, but he made three. He basically made 90% on his account, 90% because he started with 4,000. He made 3,000. No, previous ledger balance was two. Okay, so five. So anyway, so he made profit. Where's his profit? Yeah, closed trades 3,057.98, right? So why? Because starting with he didn't start. He tried to do the big account and didn't build up, but he started small, came back, and then went positive, right? So this is not mine. This is not even my account. This is someone else's. He just emailed me because I wanted to inspire my students. This is October 16th. So he was inspired, right? Inspired after the challenge, because people who follow the challenge, who followed me in the challenge, basically they trade any way they want, right? But the whole challenge was basically let's take a small account using my system and 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 trade. And we have some people VIPs that actually followed me in a live trading room for 3 days, right? But the rest of everyone else kind of like did it on their own, which is fantastic, right? So here's the end. 1,005. I think we did a little bit more than that. 11. So look, 1,129.25. So there's our $1,000. This is our equity curve. Nice smooth equity curve that we did. And it's just rinse, wash, and repeat. It became boring. Okay. When your trading becomes boring, that's when you know that you have arrived. You want your trading to be boring. You don't want events. You don't want to be, oh, I'm scared. If you're scared, you aren't following your recipe, because you want to be like that airline pilot. The airline pilot, he says, oh, we're flying at 30,000 feet, and we're going to encounter a little bit of turbulence. So make sure your seats are in the upright position, and the tray tables are folded up, and make sure the safety belt sign is. I'm going to turn that on, and we'll go ahead and sit tight, and we'll be right through that. And he's perfectly calm, and the whole plane is shaking, is rocking and rolling, and he's completely calm. I mean, would you want a pilot that goes, "Oh my God, we're gonna die"? Oh, this, just don't panic. Just be, because why? He's gone through thousands of hours of training, and he's seen every possible scenario, and so he's planning for the worst, expecting the best, but planning for the worst. And because you have that discipline, you can just follow what you've seen this before. I've seen the big drop. I've seen the big spike. I've seen the trap. I've seen the liquidity sweep. I've seen the breakout. I've seen the pullback against the trend. I've seen this stuff. And I've conditioned my mind to see it. And I go, okay, this is where they're coming in. And I'm going to go follow the order flow. Institution order flow. Will also be a lot of times you have a recipe, and there's generic recipes out there, but the real good recipes have that secret sauce, whether it's Coca-Cola or Kentucky Fried Chicken or any of the, whether it's Cane's sauce or something like that. You've got that secret ingredient that really gives you the edge in the market, right? Because if you use the average, remember, the market is made of averages. And if you are doing the average, then the average person actually loses, right? If 90% of people lose, and if you do what everyone else is using, right? Right? If everyone's using ICT or blah, 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 guess what? If everyone is using it, then it loses it doesn't have an edge. Your edge is something that other people don't know that you know. But if everyone knows the same thing, then there is no edge. It becomes part of the averages, and then you get the average of what other traders get, right? So just because you see the one strategy being taught by all these gurus doesn't mean it's the right strategy, because it doesn't have an edge. It doesn't have a statistical advantage. And you probably say pip and run. I've never even heard of pip and run. And that is for a very good reason, right? I keep it proprietary. No one can teach it. I have certified instructors who can only teach it from students that approach Elite Traders University. Why? I don't want to lose my edge. I don't want to water down my edge having it fully publicized, right? So my videos will tell you what we do and what we use, but the implementation is part of the NDA, right? And so that is to protect. People say, well, that's not fair. It is fair because people are investing a pretty good size of money, right? But they have the ability, they're able to get prop trading accounts, multiple Apex prop trading accounts worth 50,000, 100,000, maybe 5 or 6 accounts at one time, right? And so now they're trading like millions of dollars with a system that has an edge that we're not giving it away for free, right? Which means the edge is going to, I've been trading the same system for almost 20 years now, right? Now, does anyone that's going to, because really at our level of trading, because I would take our group, we do probably $500 million worth of notional volume, is that, when you're in a Wall Street group, they're not going to share what they know, right? They're not going to, because why? For that very reason, they don't want to give up their edge, because if they give up their edge, well, then that's money. That's money that they're losing, right? So these are all my students, they all, Rudy, Daniel, Michael, Debriel, all those guys, and one guy that actually had 5 accounts, $150,000 each, or 4. That's $600,000 that he had connected together, right? That he's trading, and you're able. If you do 2, 3, 4% on $600,000, you're living pretty large life, right? So, being able to trade $75,000, $100,000 in capital, how much is that worth to you, right? Because you got to also understand that even once you pass a prop challenge, do you know the statistics are very shocking? They are incredibly low, that about 7% of people who are funded actually make any money. 7%, which is really, really shocking. Because you think, okay, once you pass a challenge, you should be able to make money. But that's pyramid, right? That 10%, it's the 10% that actually make it, that move on, right? So this is one of my students with the NQ, right? And his trade lasted a second. He made $140 in a second, right? And then he made another $360 in 1 minute and 24 seconds. And then he made another $400 in 11 seconds, right? So, those are kind of, and then we have guys that do multiple accounts, right? And then here's like $700 in 25 seconds, a little slow there. 19 seconds, $160, 27 seconds, $55, 15 seconds, right? 15 seconds to make $200, right? That is tremendous, right? 35 seconds to make $60, 51 seconds to make $105. Why? He's using the same recipe, you know, and he's this guy is the mortgage. I think he's an appraiser in Ohio who didn't even know what a PIP was, and in 12 months, less than 12 months, he was doing this kind of stuff, right? So it's a really awesome thing to see students, basically outperform the market, right? They have tremendous, tremendous win percentages, where they have losing trades are very small and their winning trades are extremely large, right? Here's a person who passed the challenge. Robert Lopez was our first one, right? And so he was, yeah, Robert, yeah. He says, yeah, I don't think if I have another a bit bigger picture of what he actually did, right? Right. So he basically took he invested in the course. He didn't have a lot of money, so he gave me half down. And but then the next week he paid me back. I'm like going, I thought you didn't have any money. He was a single dad from Houston, and he made $47,802.87. I'm like going, is that demo or is that real? He goes, no, I had a challenge and I got a $200,000 challenge and I made 47. He did $47,000 in one day, 14,000 in NAS. All this is one day, 18,000, 1,600, 1,300, 676, then lost 4,000 and 17,000 there, 614, 475, 1,581. He got gold for $55, right? For a grand total of 47,802, right? So in fact, he was sharing this in the chat room with another guy, and I was looking at. So I'm just sharing this with you to show it works. This is my funded account, so I only get to keep 80%. He gets to keep 80%. But I did this morning, right? And Nick goes, Jesus, wow, amazing. A broker funded you. Not sure how the funded account works. Yeah, so this is it's really powerful when someone can do that, and so that's why I really encourage people to once they do the they complete stage. We have a roadmap to success, right? Our roadmap is very simple and makes us different than other people. Our roadmap to success, right? What we do is we start off with simulation. After you learn the system, we have video modules, group coaching, weekly group coaching, and we have private sessions. You have a private session with me once a month, group coaching, 2 hours each week. And then after that, you got simulation. You're working on simulation. The goal is 14 days on average at 90% win rate with a drawdown no more than 5%. And so the simulator, actually, you press buy, you press sell, you press the button and move the bar ahead of time. So you can actually go through the euro, the pound, or the dollar Swiss and go through weeks of history in just about an hour. And what that does, that's the practice. That's the practice drill, PDR, practice drill rehearse, practice makes permanent. So you're developing these permanent skills that once you achieve this 90% win rate, which most people can do once you have a 90% winning system and you practice it, you find out that you're scoring at 90%, right? Now, after you graduate from stage one, we move to stage two, where you actually demo trade in the live market, but with fake money. So the pressure is not there. You're not putting your money at risk while you're learning, right? So the demo account, you're basically taking a demo account and you're going to as a $10,000 account. And the whole idea is to double that account and with a drawdown no more than 5%, you'll probably have an 80%, 85% wins, right? It's the real market. You can't press F12 and move to the next bar, right? So it's it's different than simulation, right? You have to deal with emotions. You have to deal with time. You have to deal with news, right? And so and I've actually had a student, Jamie, cut the rope, if you may know him. He actually completed stage 2 in one day. He wanted to do it on my birthday. So this is from my ethics book. And this is, if you go to, my ethics book, is a link. So he had $10,000 on October 12th. And in one day, he made 488.37%. So he basically quadrupled the account in one day, right? And you can see his list of trades that he did, his 380 trades he did. And so his results look like my results, right? And if you look page after page, you'll see one loss, and there it is for $1.14. Now, you can't make this stuff up because this is verified. This is a verified track record, verified by MyFX Book, a third-party software for the third-party company that audits, connects it. You connect your brokerage account to it, and it gives you verified track records. And you can see that my student, and you can look at all the pages, right? All wins, all green, equity curve, straight through the roof, right? So that's stage 2. You can do it in one day. I think you should take your time and do it over maybe a month or so. But I mean, I basically 10 times an account in 2 days using the same system. That was 2022 what he did. I did this in 2025. So it tells you that the system, most systems will erode or degrade over time, right? They tell you that. Well, because of market volatility and changing market conditions, the system no longer works, right? The turtle system was one of them. The turtle system was one of the most profitable systems in the 80s and 90s, and it stopped working. And when it did, they had to change, right? But I'm using the same system, which is pretty remarkable. So demo account stage 2, you finish that. You go to stage 3. And stage 3 is using a small live account, right? Like I did the small account challenge. I'm doing a repeated small live account challenges all the time in stage 3 to show people that it's possible, right? You stop listening to all the Wall Street naggy that says it's not possible, it's highly risky, blah, 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 blah. I'm deprogramming my students by showing them and having others share the results that they can pull money out of this market using my proprietary pip and run system over and over and over again. That's the whole idea of stage 3, is to continue to get people to believe in belief. People, it used to be in the old days that no one could run a 3-minute, 4-minute mile, right? They said that your body will break down and you'll fall apart, you'll die if you run a 4-minute mile or a 3-minute mile, right? But then one guy did it. Was it Jim Thorpe? I'm not sure. Correct me. Someone tell me if I'm wrong. But one guy did it, and then after he did it, all these people were running 3-minute miles, right? So this is a student in stage 3, Jeff, and he says, mobile phone pip and run, double the Social Security check again this month. Ha ha. Old man making bank. And Dirk is from Henderson, Texas, fellow Texas. I'm going to head back to Dallas. Maybe I'll stop by and see him. And he's a great trader, a great patriot, great American. And he doubled his Social Security check again. When I read this, I'm like going, dude, you finished stage 3, right? You finished stage 3. I mean, you doubled the Social Security check again. So I wrote him back. I said, pull it out. Oh, yeah, congratulations. Dirk, I'm very proud of you, sir, right? So that's that's what we do. That's the culture that we're trying to get for people, that that it's all possible. If you believe you can do it, or you believe you can't do it, it's the universe will tell you, will agree with you, right? You're right either way, right? or you're right either way. So you want to expand your belief. You want to be with people who will um, support you and to help you. We have a community, right? Roger Bannister, 4 Minute Mile. Thanks, Sean. Sean, bro, you're such a great supportive Pip and Run. Any course that we have moving forward, you are. I'm going to the Wave Trader course. The message me. I'm going to enroll. We'll get you into that, right? And because he's such a great resource. Love Sean. There we go. Here we go. So withdrawals, guys. Oh, I told you I was telling you I would save the best to last. I'm trying to breed a culture of withdrawals in my class, in my coaching system. Okay. We had a lady who, beautiful, beautiful lady from Houston. And she just told me her husband turned three in the challenge, she turned $150 into, $150 into the $3,000 for that. Let me see if I can find it. All right. Here we go. My husband turned $150 into $3,000 in just a few weeks, right? That's great, but she also took it to, he actually had up to $6,000, right? And he's leaving it in there. And I said, you know what? You need to pull it out, right? Make it real. You got to make this stuff real, right? Because Wall Street wants you to, the next idea, you're just addicted, right? I said, no more addiction. I'm just withdrawing. Look, to October 15th, withdrawal, $1,000 withdrawal, 403 withdrawal, right? Pull that money, make it real, bring it home. Because what happens, the worst thing that you could do is make a bunch of money and then lose it. Because now you feel dumb, you feel stupid, you're just, you've got this whole, you just, because you didn't bring it home. But if you can take your wife out to dinner, take yourself out to dinner, buy some shoes, pay a car note, pay a bill, pay a credit card off, it's going to make it so real to your mind that your trading is serious. That's not a hobby anymore, but it's a way of financial freedom that can change your life, to change your family's life, to build a wealth legacy when you can bring it home. Bring home $50, bring home $25, make it real. Make it real, right? I mean, I made it real. Look, withdrawal, October 17th. Withdrawal, right? Bring it home. Bring your troops home, right? I always look at, there's an old game called Choplifter. I don't know if you guys ever played Choplifter. That was like one of the first Apple games, right? Where you actually you had a helicopter and then you fly over you fly over the you fly over enemy lines and you go and rescue these little guys, right? You go over, see, and you go over you got the United States base and you jump over and then you fly over into enemy territory and you rescue the hostages, right? And you got missiles spewing at you. You get your helicopter, you land, and you grab the hostages and you fly back to the base. The American base has a flag. I just love that. You grab your hostages and then you fly them back, and that's what you're doing, right? That's what you're doing with with Forex, right? The whole idea is to fly. You take your small amount of capital, go into enemy territory, which is the market, rescue those troops and bring them back home, right? You don't keep them in your chopper and fly around and try to rescue some more. You're going to fly, you're going to go rescue the guys, and then fly back and then go grab some more, right? And go grab some more. And that's what I did. I took my $123. It grabbed 123 guys went in to enemy territory and rescued and liberated 1,005 guys, brought them back home, brought the troops back home, right? You deploy. But many of you guys are like horrible generals. You're going to deploy $20,000 and lose all of it, right? You're going to give it all away, right? And then you're going to go, oh, what's going, you don't respect your capital, and you don't, why? You go in there without a plan. You think about some of the wars that we got in Afghanistan. We went in there, we had a plan, we didn't follow the plan, and it looked stupid. We left military hardware behind, we left our allies behind. We didn't go in there with a plan. We just pull people out, right? So you want to be that general that goes in and pulls money, brings your troops home, right? Withdrawals. You want to get good at withdrawals, okay? So if you want to be a withdrawal expert, drop me a line in the chat or email me at greg@elitetradersu.com, and let's set up a breakthrough strategy call so I can get you to get withdrawal symptoms. Because guess what? That's how you change your life. You change your family, change your trading, change your life. My name is Dr. Greg McLeod, and I do approve this message. I wish you the best of goodbyes. We'll talk to you later. Peace and pips. Talk to you later. Bye.